What's up, Triple Cross Podcast? We are back at it again for another baseball episode, and we're going to be kicking it off shortly. But first, we got to watch a really cool video.
The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
What's up, guys? We are back at it again for another baseball episode. Before we get into it, I wanted to kick it over to my buddy John, who has a word from one of our sponsors. John, take it away.
First sponsor today, we have Ondar Everyday Carry Goods. They got wallets, they got phone cases, but today's episode is brought to you by these bad boys right here. This is the capsule. This is actually an AirPod case. If you can see that, there's my AirPods in there. I'm wearing one. But yeah, leather stuff like that. Put it on your AirPod case, makes it look better, makes it so you lose your AirPods, or if somebody steals them, you're like, hey man, I know those are mine for sure. They also have wallets, same kind of thing, minimal wallets that are just way better than what you have in your pocket right now. Phone cases, they have bags, they have backpacks. Check them out. Ondar.com, or hit the link in the description and use code TRIPLE15 for 15% off anything in the store.
Awesome. Thank you, John, for that. I'm going to call out another sponsor we have, Manscaped, for 20% off. Please use promo code BellyUpFantasy. So if you got some situation going on, feel free to check out Manscaped, because you may need to get some stuff figured out. And John has another sponsor. Please share what you got.
If you got like a situation like Munt's face, like, you got that that's going on downstairs, then you're going to want to use Manscaped.
I feel like with the length that I'm at up here, it's okay.
That's actually probably a good Manscaped length. Yeah, everyone's got good length, right? I'm gonna let my lady decide personally. But yeah, another thing that I'm gonna let my lady decide is, how good my butt looks. I don't know if she really decides that. I think that maybe the gym and my diet decides that. But what can help is Perk Chinos. So Perk Chinos are men's chinos, specifically designed to make the man booty look good. And making the man booty look good is a tough task. Most pants don't do it very well. Most pants make man butts look flat. I know, I check out a lot of man butts and they all look flat. But Perk Chinos, I guess the key is spacing, right? So it's kind of like basketball. Spacing is the key. You want more space in the front, so it kind of frees up the boys, and you want a little bit less space in the back. So they shift the spacing, makes the man butt look better, and it's a win for everybody, right? If your girl thinks your butt looks better, it's going to be a win for you too. Just trust me on that one. So
I think I'm sold.
Description.
Yeah.
I feel like we learned a little too much about you in that situation, but we're good.
Thank you for that.
Buy one, get one. Sorry, but buy one, get one half off. Link in the description. So tap the link in the description, and they have buy one, get the second pair, 50% off, because most people wear more than one pair of pants.
Perfect. Thank you for that, John. And last but not least, Triple Cross Podcast listeners and viewers, we are giving away a custom MLB jersey that the winner will be announced in a live stream game opening day, March 30th. So make sure that you enter all of your information, triplecross.live. Again, that's triplecross.live. Triplecrosspodcast.live. I'm sorry, triplecrosspodcast.live. Enter all your information to win a free custom MLB jersey. We have that going on, and I mean, that's pretty sweet, right? Winning a custom jersey, who does not want that?
Yep.
Amazing.
Even if you did want, a player jersey, you could always just make a custom jersey, a player jersey. I'm just saying, put their name on the back and their number, and you got a player jersey. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I want to read. I'm sorry, triplecross.live. I'm getting it all fungled here. Triplecross.live is the correct website to go to. So just wanted to make sure. I know we jumped right into our sponsors and we didn't do any introductions, so I need to jump back into doing proper introductions. First and foremost, Munt is back on the show. Munt, please introduce yourself to the folks that do not know you but are about to get to know you.
What's up, everyone? My name is Montradamus. I run beastdome.com. It's a fantasy sports website been going over for a decade. Plenty of awards. You can go check out the testimonials, all that, free content and paid content. But I'm here to make sure that you beast your leagues.
Oof. Thank you, Mont, for being on the show. John, I'm going to kick it over to you if you want to talk a little bit about yourself.
My name is John, and I made it to the Little League World Series when I was 12. I'm just kidding. But
did you really? Oh, okay. Okay.
No, I did not. We were like a one game away.
No way. Wow.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that was actually when I was 11. But yeah, I know baseball, but I am not super up on the MLB. So that's where I'm gonna be on this show. I'm just letting everybody know. Just letting everybody.
Well, thanks for coming on. We have a lot to discuss today. I'm super excited to get into it. I want to do a spring training update. So we're back. We're playing baseball, right? Spring training, we are in it. It's March. The first game of the regular season is March 30th, so we are not that far away. I do want to kick it off with kind of like a weird thing that happened. Gavin Lux, he tore his right ACL on a fluke play. I kind of want to show this because it's just like, what happened here, right? Let me see if I can get this up. I want to play this because I don't know if everyone's seen this.
Round third base.
For folks that are just listening, Gavin Lux, we're just watching him on the ground right here. I think they're going to show a replay in a second. But a total fluke injury. He just fell over himself. And there was no contact at all. Super strange. I don't know. Have you guys ever experienced like an injury like that where you just like get injured without anyone touching you?
You know, luckily, knock on wood, I have not experienced that. So I feel very grateful.
No, I have.
John, kick it over to you.
Yeah, I have seen that before though. Luckily, that has not happened to me where I'm like, torn it, nothing serious. So I've sprained an ankle without anybody touching me, but that's more like, landing weird or like trying to make a cut or something like that. And I like just don't get my foot down, which kind of maybe is what happened right there, but it seems like he was just running and it just like buckled. I hate watching. I don't like watching knee stuff. Watching knee stuff like makes me cringe inside.
Yeah, terrible. But I mean, all these, you play spring training, you're in spring training, you're giving it your all, you're getting ready for the season, and then you have a fluke injury like that. He's out for the whole season. And he was a starting shortstop for the Dodgers. So the Dodgers are now like, okay, what are we doing? And, what's that?
What are the ramifications of that for the Dodgers? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of big, right? Because Trey Turner's not back. Now you have Gavin Lux that's gone. Who do they put in there for short for the Dodgers?
I mean, the Dodgers are a deep team as is. Like, that's just what they're going with is their youth. But they do have Miguel Rojas, who's shown some potential, but really like just a contact hitter. And he's a veteran, nothing special at all. But the Dodgers are deep. They got young talent. They've been breeding people in the farm system for years now. I'm sure they'll figure something out quicker than we know.
Yeah, hopefully. I wouldn't be surprised if they picked up somebody. And now they're looking at Trey Turner being gone as like, oh, maybe we should have kept him instead of letting him go, because that may end up hurting them. But we'll see what happens there. The other call out I wanted to bring up is Manny Machado signed a $350 million deal for 11 years with the Padres. So the Padres are doubling down on Manny Machado. There was some talks about him actually coming back to the Dodgers. So yeah, the Padres are loaded. I mean, they are stacked. They got him, Fernando Tatis, Soto,
Bogarts.
Xander Bogarts. So again, we talked a little bit about this on the previous episode. The new owners of the Padres come from the O'Malley family. The O'Malley family brought the Dodgers over from Brooklyn. So the O'Malley family is again back in baseball, and they're not shying away from anything, putting their money where their mouth is, so to say. So that's kind of big news that happened this past week. The other thing that happened too, which I'm going to show video because this is wild. Pitch clock violation ended a game. Okay. And I mean, and I want to get both of your opinions on this. I want to show this to the folks that are watching. And let me just play this. So this ended a game. 6-6, bottom of the ninth, 2 out, 3-2 pitch count, and the umpire just called the batter out because there was a violation. Oh, we're not going to watch Manny. But how do you guys feel about ending a game on the new rule that just came out?
Well, the new rule, a lot of people were first not liking it, and that was a good example of why people don't like it. But players are being adjusted to it, and a lot of players are actually in favor of it, like basically almost every single player, hitters and pitchers. It's good for the game. It makes the game go faster. We don't need 3.5-hour long baseball games, especially in this TikTok era of life that all the youth is in, and the youth doesn't even care about professional baseball like they once did. So I'm in favor of it. I like it. It'll all be good.
Yeah, but I'm going to kick it over to John after Munt. But do you think a baseball game should be ended on that type of call?
No, but I think once again, it's just everyone adjusting to it, and that won't happen anymore. Yeah.
John, your thoughts?
So that one in particular, what I thought was dumb about that was it was a batter violation, and he called it because the batter has to be ready by, is it 7 seconds or 8 seconds?
8 seconds. 8 seconds.
And he has to be, it's defined as attentive to the pitcher, which I think is a dumb rule. I think he just should be in the box. So he was like still kind of swinging. The catcher wasn't even down though, because the pitcher still had till 15 seconds. So what I think the rule should be like, you got to be in the box at 8 seconds. And then if he wants to throw it, he can throw it. If you're still holding the umpire at 8 seconds, or if you're not in the box, then it's a batter violation. But just because he was swinging his bat around, or he wasn't looking at the pitcher yet or whatever, you don't have to look at him. But if you're standing there and he throws it and it's a strike, it's a strike. So I thought that one in particular was kind of dumb. And I think that should be the rule adjustment, is like, you got to be standing in there, not holding the ump at 8 seconds. And then the pitcher is free to pitch anytime after that. So it's up to you to be looking at him or not.
Yeah, I agree. Good take. I would hate to see like games in the playoffs ended that way. I mean, that would just, that's just not a good way. So I feel like maybe in the playoffs they make an adjustment to the rule, just because there's fewer games that are going to be played, and I don't want to have a game end on either the pitcher or the batter taking so long. But I think this is just part of the transition that we're going through with these new rules. John, do you have thoughts on that playoff time?
Yeah, I mean, I think by playoff time, like Munt said, they'll be adjusted. It probably won't happen. But let's say it did, right? Like, that would suck. We don't want to see games end that way. But at the end of the day, I think that the whole point of the clock and putting them on an actual clock is to make it a real rule, not just like the NBA has the 10-second rule for you have to shoot your free throws in 10 seconds. And it's more of a guideline. They let people take longer. Specifically Giannis, they let him take longer sometimes and stuff like that. The whole point of the clock is this is very objective. That's why I think the main point of the rule that's subjective, which is attentive to the pitcher, that is just why would we put more subjectivity in the hands of the umpires? There's already so much of it in baseball. Every single pitch has some degree of subjectivity. It's a very objective rule. So let's just take the subjectivity out, and most likely it won't end like that in a playoff game. And if it does, we can say, hey, it's a very objective rule that's 100% on you as a player.
Yeah. Good take. Yeah. For folks that are watching, feel free to jump in the chat, comments on the new rules, Manny Machado re-signing, Gavin Lux injury, any comments that we're discussing, feel free to jump in with questions, comments. We will get to those. I want to jump to the next thing, which is kind of based on the last topic we talked about, which is the game ending. by the umpire. Average game in spring train is down to 2 hours and 38 minutes, down from 3 hours and 1 minute last year. So we're shaving some time off the clock, which is great. People have less attention span. 20 minutes, 25 minutes off a game, like that will probably drive more people to the stadium, more viewers on TV. Munt, I want to kick it over to you. What are your thoughts on how much time we're shaving off the clock here?
I mean, I love it. We're on the right track. Baseball sometimes goes on for way too long. Even, us being as diehard fans as we are, we're like, all right, the game could go by a little bit faster. Now everyone's just locked and loaded. It's almost turning into NBA where like there's just constant action.
Yeah, John, I know you're a big NBA fan. Talk to me about how long NBA games usually take and your thoughts on shaving 20, 25 minutes off the game of a baseball game.
Yeah. So NBA games broadcast, like start of the broadcast to end of the broadcast, are typically 2 hours, maybe 2:15. And so that's what was my question. Is that 2:38 of like first pitch to last play? So
yes.
There were TV break, like so that 2:38 is whatever with commercials and in between inning, or well, no, I guess not in between time, but yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean that's better. We're more in the zone, right? Like that's more in the zone of how long NFL games take. There still is downtime between play. So in the NBA, I think the thing that's attractive about it is that there's not really downtime between play. If the clock is running, they're playing. And whereas like in the NFL, the clock could be running and they could not be playing. But I think it puts it more in line with the NFL. Not every pitch has a lot of action, but I think that's one of I don't know that it will draw more people, but I guess my theory more so is that it will be stickier when people do watch, right? So if somebody does happen to tune into a game, it's like, okay, we're moving, I'm seeing the pitches go, stuff. I get like, there's something for me to watch. Whereas like when they take 20, 30 seconds between pitches, it's just way too easy to get distracted by something, either changing the channel or just a different thing online or whatever, wherever you're watching. Or if you're watching on TV, like just to get distracted by your phone. So I think it just will make it stickier and like way more watchable for anybody who does get introduced to it. Now, a whole other problem that the MLB has to solve is how to just get more people into it. So I think they're solving the right problem first. Like, okay, let's make it more sticky and more watchable when people are into it. Now, how do we get more people into it?
I agree. Yeah. It's on the right track, and we'll see kind of what the other adjustments MLB has in store. One thing that they do kind of have in the works already, which is a easy segue into it. 2023 all minor league AAA teams are going to be utilizing an automatic ball and strike system.
What's that mean?
So it's a robot, right? They have cameras. Oh. Yeah. So this is like kind of new news. I want to kick it over to Munt. What are your thoughts on this automatic ball strike and like the overall umpiring just theme here that we're kind of going to in the minors and the AAA, which is right next to the majors?
I love the fact that robot umps could be in the major leagues, because these umpires in today's major leagues, they have the biggest egos ever. They think they're the stars of the show, and they have such bad track records also, like Angel Hernandez. Guy can't call a ball or strike if his life depended on it. Get these guys out of here. They're just all old timers that are just like grandfathered into this position. We just need a robot that just calls the game how it should be called.
John, what are your thoughts?
Also something that will speed up the game, right? Because how you can argue with a robot? Like the robot calls a strike, it's probably right, probably wrong, most likely. So I think I love the idea of robot umps for something like balls and strikes, right? Because it could be very objective, right? If dialed in correctly. And a lot of calls in the majors, right? Did the runner, who was the ball first or was the runner first? I don't think that's a judgment call so much. Robot umps in other sports, that's tougher, right? Because typically in the NFL, a foul occurs on every play, so you're going to have a penalty occurs on every play on both sides of the ball. So it's like there's settings on the robot ump. Like, can we set them to 3 or to 5? You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but yeah, I do like it for baseball. I don't know. What do game purists say? Like, are we looking to potentially replace all umpires with robots?
Well, I mean, here's the thing is like, let's say we have I'm going to be curious how it plays out in AAA, because you still need a home plate umpire. Like if there's a play at the plate, you still need someone to make that call. You still need someone there, and you still need umpires to make decisions on the bases. For balks and like there's so many nuances to it, but for balls and strikes, you still need a home plate umpire. So my question is like, okay, if you need a home plate umpire, what is he doing? Is he just chilling like on the side? Like, what's that?
No, wait, he's just having a hot dog. Wait until there's a play at the plate,
Right. Yeah.
Or maybe the robot can tell him if it's a ball or a strike, and then he calls what the robot tells him to call. Just for that
I suppose.
Seems
like
why just runs in.
I'm very curious to know how that's going to play out in reality. And also, like with the robot, usually, the strike zone changes based on the height of the batter, like it's supposed to, So, maybe, it should. Real umpires, it's a very gray area. They have their own like way of doing things, and calling their balls and strikes. So I don't know. I as a baseball purist, I'm not a fan, because I think it pulls away of some of the nostalgia and like just the purity of like you have a real person making decisions, and like you can argue with them, right? Like where that fun part of like a batter going behind the plate and yelling at the umpire and getting him in the face, that's all gone. Like I like that part, like maybe the manager comes out. What's that?
That's the home plate umpire's job. He's just there to be the guy you come argue with. He didn't even make the call, but like when you're mad, he's basically like a therapist. Like you're mad, you just go out there and yell at him,
Yeah, I mean, what's your take on like how managers they yell at the umpire from the dugout when they're bad balls and strikes being called? Do you have thoughts on that? We're gonna miss that.
I mean, it was fun back in the day when Bobby Valentine and all those guys used to do it, but it really doesn't happen as much as it used to happen. So I mean, it's a more PC world. We don't need that type of stuff. Let's just keep the baseball game going. Robots will keep it going fast.
Yeah, I wanted to pull up Jasmine Williams. Thanks for coming on the show. My opinion is that a good pitcher is mainly focused on their winning for their baseball team. Yes, I could not agree more. That is their main focus. They win, their baseball team wins. It's all gravy all around. Thank you for jumping on the show, and please put in your comments. We will get to those shortly. And I do want to mention our giveaway again. Go to triplecross.live. We are giving away a free custom MLB jersey that will be announced March 30th during a live stream event. So make sure to go to triplecross.live, enter all your information for a chance to win a free MLB custom jersey, which is pretty sweet. I have one, so I'm good. Munt, do you have one?
No custom MLB jerseys.
Okay, well, you got a chance to win if you want to plug in there. John, I know, I'm guessing you don't. But John, do you have a custom NBA jersey?
I do not have a custom one.
Ooh,
I'm
wow.
Ones, honestly, and I guess you can, like I said, you can make a custom one, a player one. But I'm more into player ones and like editions. So like I want the like Donovan Mitchell City edition or whatever.
Right. I got
it's just my vibe. Like I just feel like if I showed up to a game and I had like my name on the back of the jersey,
right?
You'd be like, "What? Like it's not a player.
Where is this guy?"
Yeah, who is this dude?
You can be really like, I had a 10-day contract. You didn't know?
I had a 10-day. Yeah, I was a 2-way player. Don't worry about it. All right. They specifically brought me in to win the dunk contest. I'm like Mac McClung.
Right. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to Fernando Tatis Jr. He got caught with steroids last year. This is kind of a overarching talk. I feel like we were going to talk about it at some point. Might as well get it out of the way. Steroids talk, right? So he got caught, 60-game suspension. Obviously, players are still doing substances, steroids, whatever you want to call them. John, I want to get your thoughts overall on like steroids. Should we just let them use it? Should there be harsher penalties? Like what are your thoughts on it?
A lot of people have the opinion, just like let them use them. It's up to them. I specifically don't. And I think I would have for a long time had I not advanced in a sport to the point where like I had counterparts using like performance enhancing drugs. The reason is because at a high level in any sport, if we just say, hey, it's legal, everybody can use them, knock yourself out. It's not going to be a contest of like who the most athletic is or who the most skilled is or anything like that. It's going to be who has the best doctor or like who has the best program. And that's really what it becomes. If you look at cycling, it's like, the best riders and best teams, there's a handful of doctors that they have, right? Like
right.
There's a handful of programs that they're on, right? Like who's the best at keeping up on that, which I suppose you could say like, that's fine. Like that just plays out on the field. I think that the issue with that is that what sports represent like to youth, right? Like to me, I think sports is a big part of my youth. I think a big part of all of your youths. And I'd be lying if I didn't say like, I dreamt of making it to the big leagues, you know what I mean? Or I dreamt of making it to the NBA. Yep. For me specifically, it was the MLB and then the Olympics. And if you essentially just say like, you have to make the choice to sacrifice your health significantly at some point if you want to make it to the highest level of your sport, I think it just takes something away from it. Like I'm a pusher, right? So if I am an athlete, I want to be the best. I want to be the highest level there is. I want to beat the best. And if you're telling me like, oh yeah, you totally can, you just have to sacrifice your health. In like a really obvious way, you kind of already do as an athlete, but like you have to like basically decide, hey, you might only live till you're like 50, but yeah, totally. You could definitely be the best just with the right doctor.
Right.
I don't love that, right? Like I think it just like takes a lot of it out, a lot of the benefit of sport out at the youth level. It also, how far down does it go? When do they get to start using steroids? Are we getting these doctors working on like, what about parents who don't have money for the best doctor, right? I think you're going to get rid of you're going to shave off a lot of the best possible talent earlier on in their lives because it's just going to lose its lore.
Yeah. Great take.
Yeah. I'm with John. Like you can see my MVP trophy right next to me. And I'm glad that for high school, and I'm glad that, I was never pushed to do steroids, but if like it was legal and players could do it, who knows, maybe I would have, but probably not. But I'm glad that they're banning it. But MLB's been so inconsistent with their whole steroid stuff because like they won't allow Barry Bonds or Alex Rodriguez in the Hall of Fame, but they allow David Ortiz because, he didn't know that he was taking it and things like that. Yeah. So, I'm not in favor of it at all.
Is there anyone here, Matt? I know. So Casey actually kind of has the take. Casey's our backstage producer for this episode. He actually kind of has the take that we should just, like he has that opposite take of me. Just like let him go, let him play, let him use it. I don't care. It's probably going to make the game more interesting. And the last time baseball was really interesting for a lot of people, it was like when it was a Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds home run derby. You know what I'm saying? So. Yeah. No,
it's an interesting take. I mean, I'm not in favor of that for a number of reasons. One, doesn't, like you said, it doesn't promote good health. Okay. So there's going to be a lot of folks that do it that get older and they start to see those side effects. Also too, so the baseball players that are naturally talented and they just work hard, but they don't take steroids, they're going to be beat out by the ones that are not as good, but they're doing steroids. So you lose some of that purity. And also like, I don't know, it's not a good promotion. Health wise. So I'm not a fan. Casey, our backstage producer, maybe next time on the show you can give your opinion. But speaking of that, Munt, you brought up the Hall of Fame, and I did want to kind of touch on that. Like, so we have players that the home run race was good promotion from MLB. Yes, the home run race was the best promotion for MLB after the strike. So totally agree there. We have what about home run predictions?
Jasmine actually.
Jasmine, we're gonna get into home run predictions, but Munt is gonna talk about that. Yeah. But I wanted to discuss the Hall of Fame because the Hall of Fame. So to get in the Hall of Fame, you have to be voted in by the Writers Association. You have to get a certain. I think it's 75%, and so I believe it's you have a 10-year gap, a 10-year window, right? So when you start, you have 10 years to get into the Hall of Fame, and if you don't, that's it. Your window is closed. Those rules can be changed and modified. But there's a lot of folks that have done steroids, and the baseball writers are basically like, well, yeah, Barry Bonds, he's not going to get in, right? Roger Clemens, there's a bunch of others. But to Munt's point, David Ortiz, he got in, and he said he didn't know or whatnot. So what are your John, I want to know your take on steroids, pertaining to the Hall of Fame. Should players that took steroids be allowed to get in?
It's such a slippery slope, right? Because then you get into the Pete Rose. Well, if people who can cheat can get in, then why can't Pete Rose get in, right? It is a slippery slope. I tend to think that if you get caught doing something that is illegal to do in the league, I'll actually put it this way: if you get banned, if you get a lifetime ban at any point in your career, then you cannot get into the Hall of Fame. If you do not, right? Fair. So let's say you have if you're sentenced, right? You're hey, you're 1 year ban, whatever. You serve that sentence, you play again, whatever. Then yeah, I think then you can get into the Hall of Fame. I could see maybe I would like to see more criteria, not just Writers Association voting, because I feel like then it just becomes a boys club. They're just kind of I don't know who are they friends with? How do we know who they're
right? They're all pals, right?
Yeah, yeah. We don't like A-Rod, Yeah, right. So that's what I don't like about it. But I could see, maybe if the some criteria, okay, well, this player was investigated and they got sentenced for using steroids in these years. So you have to look at their body of work, excluding those years, to determine if they get into the Hall of Fame or not. I'm fine with that. I would just like some more criteria around it, I think. But I think that you could be eligible as long as you weren't banned from the game. Maybe just black out some years, right? If those were the years that you were I don't know, found guilty.
So you're saying remove the years that you were doing steroids, for example, from your statistics, kind of?
Whichever ones were if it was bad enough to where you received a sentence, for using,
okay,
then you black out those ones. Now, if that was your whole career, then it's yep, you're out,
Okay.
Or if it was your whole career except for the last few years when you were super old and you weren't good those years, then yeah, I guess you are out then. But that's not based on because you're using steroids. It's based on merit. You never had good seasons where we can say you weren't, we've already proven you used steroids all those seasons, and so they're blacked out from Hall of Fame. But I would and maybe that's what the Writers Association is doing. I would just like more criteria.
Okay, fair take. Munt, what's your take?
I say you let them all in. Barry Bonds, the all-time home run leader, everything single season. Just put an asterisk next to their name if they use steroids, and that can be the little asterisk to know that they semi-cheated. But Barry Bonds was even amazing before the steroids. And Pete Rose, he deserves to be in as well. When he cheated and was betting on, against his team or on the over-under is when he was a manager, not when he was a player. Though I'm sure he did bet as well when he was a player. I'm sure a lot of players bet when they were players and no one knows. But you got to let those guys in the Hall of Fame. They're greatest of all time.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just a time. It's just the era, right? That it's a time. It's during that era, and I don't think there should be any asterisks. If I'm being honest, I think it's just that was a sign of the times, and everyone, if you were using it, you were using it. If you weren't, you weren't. There wasn't any punishment that. You just have to accept that.
There's no limits to number of players in there, number of players inducted per year or anything like that?
No, there's no limits.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sometimes they have 1, sometimes they have 6. It's kind of all over. But I'm a fan of look, I mean, it is a boys club, the Writers Association. Yeah. So you have to get past that. And most of them are older. Okay. So they have like the old school baseball mentality. They do steroids. They're just not going to get in. But I don't think there should be asterisks. Like that is just how, like, that's a slippery slope too. You start putting asterisks in places, like, well, what deems an asterisk for what? So yeah, I think I'm with Munt. Let's let him in. John,
what if at some point, the league decides to move the mound back 3 feet?
Right.
I won't do that.
Well, they expanded the bases. The bases are bigger now this year.
So now what if you have a ton of stolen? Now the stolen bases record will probably get broken, maybe,
maybe
with bigger bases. Like, do you asterisk that? What if they move the mound back a few feet? Do you asterisk that? What if they allowed bigger bats? Do you asterisk that? Like, there's just so many things that's like, well, that could change. I get what you're saying. It's a sign of the times. I think it's like, if you were cheating at the time that was the time, then that's kind of my main point is like, no asterisks, but blackout years. You know what I mean? Like if it was like, no, you were cheating, like the game, Astros players, right? Like they knew the pitches. They were like they were actually cheating according to the rules of baseball. Like, in that year, that's a blackout year, right? Like,
right.
Yeah, we don't consider that year in your Hall of Fame criteria. But yeah, honestly, probably just the Writers Association shouldn't be the ones deciding. The fact that there's no limits, though, does make your case a little bit better. Just like put anyone in who deserves to be in.
Yeah. It's good takes, both Munt and John. Appreciate it. This kind of leads me to Pete Rose. I know there's been some comments in the chat here about Mr. Hustle. John, Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. Do you care that he bet on baseball? Like, is that such a black mark to bet to be banned from baseball for life?
Well, yeah, but he was doing it when he was a manager, not when he was playing. That's when he was at least caught, was when he was a manager. So
right.
But yeah, you shouldn't be betting if you're a player. Like look at Calvin Ridley with the Falcons, now Jaguars, I believe. If you watch the replays of him and he had like an open field in front of him and then you just slow down and let the defenders catch up to him. But when you're a manager, it's fine. Well, not really.
I don't think you should be I don't think you should be betting as a manager or player. So yes, no, he should not have been betting, and maybe a lifetime ban is warranted for that. However, as a player, nobody's ever proved or even accused him of betting, really. I mean, people have like speculated. As a player, he was a Hall of Famer. So yeah, he should be in the Hall.
Right.
But maybe he should also have a lifetime ban if that's the
penalty. But as a lifetime ban, like, is that worth like a lifetime? I feel like there's so many other things that could be warranted for a lifetime ban. It's such a harsh penalty.
Yeah, I think one of the worst things that could happen to sports like baseball, basketball, or football, there's already too many accusations around stuff like this, like they're rigged. One of the worst things that could happen is that they become the WWE. You know what I mean? And it all becomes scripted and stuff like that. And if you loosen penalties for betting in sports when you're a player or a manager or involved with the team, and you can affect the outcome, and you make the penalties not as harsh, then you maybe invite a little bit more of that betting. It's a slippery slope argument for sure. If the penalties are harsh, then they're all, then a lot of people probably won't bet anyway. But that's why the penalty is so harsh, because it's like, we can't let this become the WWE. Lifetime ban, maybe that is too harsh. Maybe it's 5 years, maybe it's whatever. But I mean, I am for harsh penalties for betting on sports when you can affect the outcome. Absolutely.
Yeah, it ruins the integrity of the game for sure.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's see. Let's move on. I do want to actually just touch on real quick. If you guys have any thoughts on new forms of cheating that players are going to try to do with like the new rules that have come out, for example, like, do you think there's going to be some new ideas, some new craftsmanship, that is going to be happening to gain an advantage, and what those may be? Munt, do you have any thoughts?
No.
Nothing. Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing
Well then,
comes to
John,
mind.
kick it off.
I have one that's not cheating.
Okay.
But definitely is like manipulate, which baseball is all about manipulating the game, which is kind of one of the things I love about it. But specifically that Braves Red Sox, like that game that ended, this is exactly what it is. The catcher wasn't down yet. So I think we could see catchers trying to throw off hitter timing unless they change that rule and make it more objective. I think we could see stuff like catchers trying to throw off hitter timing, or like even doing stuff like, okay, if the hitter is in the box and he is in position, but he's not really ready for the pitch because he doesn't think it's coming because the catcher's standing
Just
up.
fast pitch him.
Like fast pitch him. Yeah, I think we could see some stuff like that to try and manipulate. But specifically that one, the reason he wasn't paying attention to the pitcher is because he knew it wasn't going to pitch because the catcher was still standing up. Right. So I think we could see some more stuff like that. Like, hey, can we throw off hitter timing or pitcher not being on the mound or whatever? Can we throw off hitter timing and get them into clock violations? Well, I think we could see some of that.
What Max Scherzer said he's going to do is he's going to stare down batters for like 14 seconds of the 18-second clock when they're in the box and then throw a pitch. Just look at them right in their eye.
I cannot wait to see that happen. He is a scary looking dude on the mound, by the way. Like, he's a big dude. Yeah. John, you had something to say.
Especially on the mound. He's a giant. I want to know your guys' thoughts on pitchers using stuff, right? Like using substances, using things on the ball to make it spin more and make it, because it seems like one of those rules that's like a rule that they're not supposed to do it, but like everyone's like, yeah, but we all just do it. It's not like the umps never care. Only if we openly say we're doing it will we get any kind of punishment for it.
Well, they've become more strict. So last year or the year before, they started to check pitchers every inning. So like one of the umpires goes over, checks his glove, checks his hat to make sure there's no foreign substance that he's using. So they are cracking down on it, and they have caught some folks. Overall, I mean, I think we talked about it a little bit. I'm not a fan of it. It's a slippery slope too. Like there's so many different substances. What I've heard though from pitchers and hitters is it does give them more traction on the ball, especially if it's a cold night and they don't want the ball to slip out of their hands. But those are like limited use cases, I would say. Do you have a take on that?
Yeah, I mean, they're so strict on it now ever since Garrett Cole got caught with the spider tack. Now it's like a whole nother world where like umpires are touching the player's hair, sometimes to see if the substance is there. It's not easy anymore.
Yeah.
Isn't there some stuff, and maybe this is just they've cracked down on this, but isn't there some stuff specifically that is like sunscreen? There's like some combination of sunscreen and something else that essentially creates like a pretty good, and what are you going to do? Like tell pitchers they can't wear, so like, sunscreen. You want to be a pitcher, you got to get sunburned. Like that's part of the game. Sunscreen
and rosin. Yeah. I mean, look, I'm pretty pale, I would say. When I would play baseball, I'd wear sunscreen. Like that was just like you put it on, and like even if you use sunscreen and like some, you don't have to use rosin, just some dirt. Like I mean, you can make some in your sweat and your hair, so you can get really crafty. I don't know.
You can't tell players they can't have that,
Yeah. Mon, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean they're just strict on it, so can't do anything.
Oh, yeah, interesting.
I mean they're strict on it now. Yeah, they weren't as before, but now it's become a thing that they are cracking down on. All right. Thank you for all the folks that are watching or listening. If you want to win or potentially win a free custom MLB jersey, go to triplecross.live, enter your information. We're going to be giving that away on a live stream on March 30th. Triplecross.live for a chance to win a free MLB custom jersey. All right, so Mon, this is your time to shine. I'm giving you most of the floor here, okay? Because you are the Mr. Fantasy prediction guru. So we are going to open up fantasy discussions, and this is going to be like an open-ended question. I want to know, what are your thoughts on, we can start off, why don't we start off with pitchers? So give me something that you're thinking about in terms of pitchers for fantasy this year.
Well, it's important to get a top-notch closer early on just because those guys are just on top of it, like Edwin Diaz, Josh Hader. You reach for one of those guys round 3, round 4. But there's a lot of starting pitchers that go late. Like a lot of them, you can get all the guys from the Astros, like Lance McCullers. I like Pablo Lopez, who goes really late. You can wait on starting pitching this year. There's a lot of starters. For the Cardinals, they have very easy matchups against the NL Central. Adam Wainwright goes at the end if you just want some cheap wins, but tons of pitchers. You can wait on starting pitchers.
So you're saying wait on starting pitching, and you want to get closers on like the 3rd or 4th round?
Yeah, get your closer earlier, superstar closer. A sleeper closer I like is Craig Kimbrell. He's with the Phillies this year. It's really between him and Sir Anthony Dominguez, but Sir Anthony's always been inconsistent. Kimbrell's got that veteran. You can get Kimbrell after the 20th round. Clay Holmes is another guy you get like round 13 who took Aroldis Chapman's job last year with the Yankees. Now Chapman's gone. They're going to depend on Holmes to lock down all the games for the Yankees. So a lot of good cheap saves there.
So what are you thinking in terms of starting pitchers? Like, I mean, if you got a 1st or 2nd round pick, you're just not even getting a starting pitcher at all.
Yeah, you can wait. There's just the discrepancy between pitchers between the beginning and late. Like, 6 innings, 7 Ks, 2 earned runs. That can come from a Lance McCullers that you can get in the 20th round, or it can come from, I don't know, Kyle Wright, on the Braves, who you have to draft in the 5th round.
Okay, so then if you're not picking any pitchers in the first 2 rounds, what are you looking for?
If I have the number 1 pick, you got to go Trey Turner, leadoff hitter for the Phillies. He's going to lead the league in runs. He's going to steal a ton of bases. He's going to get good power for the shortstop position. I like him 1. I like Mookie Betts number 2. Now that he's going to be playing second base for the Dodgers. Mookie's 35 home runs at the second base position. That's legit. I mean, he didn't steal that many bases. I believe he only had like 10 or something in that range, but he can steal a lot more, and they need him to generate some more offense with all those guys gone this year.
Where are you taking Freddie Freeman?
Freeman, you have to reach for him. I believe he goes like around round 3, round 4. So I would rather you get that closer, in round 3. In round 4, I'd rather go after Salvador Perez and just draft him a little earlier. The guy could hit 50 home runs at the catcher position. He's an absolute monster. Even when he got injured last year, as soon as he came back from the injury, he was smashing home runs left and right. So I like Salvi more than going after Freeman.
Okay. So let me ask, how many fantasy leagues are you in?
Me, I'm just going to be in 3 leagues, but then I'm going to be doing daily fantasy baseball.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So when is talk to me about your leagues. Are these leagues you carry over from one season to the next, or you start over every season?
I like best ball, to be honest. That's my favorite for baseball because baseball is a hard sport to predict who's going to hit home runs every week. Like you can have a guy on David Peralta sitting on your bench and he can hit 5 home runs while Mike Trout in your starting lineup can hit 0 home runs for the entire week. So with best ball, you just automatically, your guys are your guys and you can root for them even if they're on your bench. Yeah, but I just do 3 leagues. One with my best friend, one with my dad, and then one by myself. And then I just
where are you taking Ohtani? I'm curious. If you're taking are you taking Betts and Trey Turner over Ohtani?
Yeah, but Ohtani is definitely a first round pick. I mean, because the thing about Ohtani, he's amazing at hitting, he's amazing at pitching, but you can only put him at one either as an outfielder or as a starting pitcher in weekly lineups. So you can put him as a starting pitcher, but then he hits 5 home runs that week. You get nothing for that hitting because he's just your pitcher.
John, did you ever play fantasy baseball? Curious.
Yeah. So I'm that guy, in the league who drafts, and then maybe plays like 1, 2, 3 weeks, and then sometime around July.
Best ball the league for you then.
Yeah. No, best ball actually would be a good format for me. But what annoys most people about that guy or that player is they don't trade. You know what I mean? Like they're clearly not playing. They clearly don't care. But they're sitting on like somebody really good. I remember one year I had like Albert Pujols, and like so many people wanted to trade for him. I had like I didn't even look, and then I looked like at the end of the season, like, oh, I wonder how I did in fantasy baseball. I had like so many trade requests that I just ignored. People were like the messages were like, yeah, we're never inviting you back. But I guess maybe it depends on how serious of a league it is. Like maybe you just know like half the people are going to stop playing halfway through. That's how a lot of fantasy is. Unless you're in a really serious league, I think a lot of times it's like, yeah, some people are just going to fall off. And
baseball is the toughest though.
Baseball's hard. Yeah.
Baseball is a lifetime sentence each season.
Yes.
Like you'll change as a person from the start of the season to the end of the season. You'll be a completely different person.
Yeah, it's true. You might reconnect with your parents, like you might change your diet. Like it's going to just change your life in general playing fantasy baseball.
Yeah. Any last takes for listeners or viewers on fantasy this year?
I have one last take for you. The best player in fantasy baseball this year, you're going to be surprised to hear this. He usually is drafted around the 132nd pick. So that's like what, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th round. But I say he's maybe the number one player in fantasy baseball. And this is not going to surprise you at all, but it's surprising how late he goes. Do you have any guess who it is?
What year did he get drafted?
I don't know the exact year. A few years ago.
What team does he play on?
Well, if I tell you that, it's going to give it away. I'm just going to try to just give it away. How about, here's your clue. The most electrifying player in baseball over the last 5 years.
Well, Trey Turner.
No, he's not the most like the guy that makes you stand up when he comes up to bat. And the answer is Bryce Harper. For some reason, you can get him in the 9th, 10th, 11th round. The guy could lead the majors in home runs and RBIs this year. Like, he is so protected. He's going to have batters, runners on base, batters behind him and in front of him. So pitchers are going to have to throw those meatballs to him because they don't want to walk him and put him on base. And Bryce can take advantage of any mistake pitch.
Yeah, a lot of folks forget about Bryce Harper. I mean, in high school, he would hit like 500-foot home runs. Like, he was unbelievable. He was like
still
LeBron James of baseball. What's that?
He still is hitting 500-foot home runs. It feels like.
He looks. He's a phenomenal athlete and baseball player, and I'm surprised that he goes that late in drafts. But a good take for fantasy. Munt, I want to give you a little bit of time to tell folks about your services and what you offer, because fantasy baseball is just around the corner. So please tell folks how to find you.
Yeah, it's beastdome.com. I can give you weekly picks for $100, but I am giving my draft guide away for free this year. First time since, what year? Maybe 2011. It's been a while, but I'm giving away my draft guide free this year. I don't know. It's just something in my heart of hearts just told me to give baseball away for free. So I'm going with it.
Well, I'm sure the listeners and viewers appreciate that. And you give something for free, you'll get a lot back in return. Cool. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on the show. This was great. Baseball episode 3 is in the books. Listeners and viewers, triplecross.live to enter for a free MLB custom jersey. We're going to be doing a live stream on March 30th. We'll watch one of the opening day games. I think if anyone can see who's in my background, a little hint on which game is going to be live streamed. And yeah, John, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you. Yeah,
thank you,
Mike. Thanks for coming on. And thanks for all of our listeners and watchers. And we will see you next time on Baseball Triple Cross Podcast.